Hello, I'm Gigi Coghlan, and I'm going to talk about Batrachochytrium dendrobatitis. The common name is trithrid fungus, and it's an infamous fungus, but many researchers refer to it as BD. This fungus is infamous because of a disease it causes in amphibians called cytridiomycosis. The fungus itself is a rough spherical shape, smooth-walled, asexual, eukaryotic, and it's most infamously known for being a fungal pathogen. It belongs to the fungi kingdom and to the Batrachochytraceae family. The fungus is unique as it is aquatic and produces flagellate zoospores. A zoospore is a spore that is able to actually swim. The life cycle of BD comes in two stages. First, we can observe the zoospores dispersal, and the second lifestyle stage includes the development of monocentric thallus into a single zoosporangia. The zoosporangia produce, contain, and discharge the zoospores. The zoospores have an ovidual body shape, membrane-bound ribosomes, and most notably, they have a single flagellum. Zoospores have the single flagellum that helps the spores actually swim through water. The main way that the fungus infects a host is through the zoospores in water, but other ways are possible, like amphibian-to-amphibian contact. It's theorized that the Korean War actually began the spread of fungus, but other people have theorized that the fungus also spread through the illegal pet trade. However it did spread to the rest of the world, BD has now become infamous for causes of cytridiomycosis in amphibians. This is a skin disease that comes from the zoospores of BD. BD has now affected over 8,000 species, and it can be found in almost every continent except Antarctica. Probably not Antarctica because there's no known living species of amphibians in Antarctica. Amphibians have now become the most threatened vertebrate class in the planet. BD has caused many species to even go extinct. Species like Elatus obstetricans, known as the midwife toad, from the French Pyrenees, die quickly from the infection. But on the other hand, species like the American bulldog are actually resistant, but they can still be carriers, making them very dangerous to other amphibians. That's what I would call a real bully frog. Cytridiomycosis is spread through contaminated water because frogs drink and breathe through their skin. The fungus is able to make its way by infecting the keratinized epidermal cells of amphibians' skin and cause disease of chytridiomycosis. Scientists have found that BD unspoils the amphibians' proteins in their skin and breaks down the proteins, which results in kind of a spaghetti of amino acids. When a frog is infected, you can tell because they'll get something called red leg, and they'll be extremely sleepy and lethargic. But other than that, there's no real signs. And just a few weeks later, frogs can experience heart failure and pass away, leaving behind a mass graveyard of amphibians. Scientists have yet to find a cure to the fungal infection or a way to make environments safe from the spores. But they can apply a topical fungicide to individual frogs, which has been successful, but it still remains difficult for researchers to apply this technique to an entire population. One way scientists have helped is by breeding captive amphibians of the populations that are most affected by BD in order to keep the species alive. Mapping this fungus is extremely helpful for scientists to know the locations of BD to help minimize its spread to other areas, which is why apps like iNaturalist can be really helpful if anyone wants to help and become a citizen naturalist. Future research is also required to help minimize BD so we can protect the biodiversity of amphibians. Researchers have found that there's a host of immunity in some species where they produce antimicrobial peptides to combat the disease. This knowledge may find itself very helpful in future research when looking for a treatment. An important fact to remember is that while Chytridiomycosis from BD zoospores continues to kill many amphibians, it is still not the greatest threat to these species. The greatest threat continues to be habitat loss due to deforestation and climate change. Thank you.